Good evening and welcome to the Smart Investing Show with Alton Brooks, your host. Thank you for joining us this evening. We've got a great show for you, so let's go. Thank you for joining us this evening. Tonight we have a wonderful guest joining us this evening. He is the chair of the future credit union, the Pan-African Credit Union. He's part of the steering committee, the Pan-African Credit Union Initiative, that is bringing that forward. His name is Ivor Christopher, and he joins us tonight. Good evening, Mr. Christopher. How are you?
I'm doing well, Alton. How are you doing? And good evening to all your viewers.
Thank you very much. I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. Good to see you. So, Mr. Christopher, I understand that you've got a lot of experience in this area. You've served with past Caribana committees and in very high leadership roles. You ran or was the controller for a very large credit union in Canada in the past. And you've now taken on helping to steer this initiative, the Pan-African Credit Union. So you are definitely someone who likes to help out when it comes to these type of scenarios. And just tell me what drives you to be a part of this and these organizations that you've been a part of in the past.
Well, a lot of the organizations are community-based, and it's just, I guess it's my way of helping build up and the Black community and make them progress. My grandmother and my mother have always been very strong in the community, so it's just kind of ingrained in me to help out the community and try and get the best out of it. There's a lot of greatness in the race, so just to help bring that forward. And with my skill set being economics and finance, I normally gravitate to that side of the spectrum in terms of what can I do to help the community build up itself economically.
That is terrific. And might I add as well that you are a practicing CPA, so let's not forget about
Correct.
that. Very
Yes.
experienced. So thank you for joining us this evening. Let's get started and talk about economic justice. You know, we look at minimum wages, tiering taxes based on income, diversity. Then on the other hand, we have capitalism, which is all about profits at all cost. So tell us, how can we help navigate between these two areas? Because they're conflicting, and how can your credit union assist in this type of area? Because you're going to be asked to make profits, but you still have to find a way to provide some economic justice.
Well, one of the things that has been ingrained into the Black community is the thought that, money is the root of all evil. So we've got to get past that. I had a great discussion with the late Reverend Audley James at the Revival Time Tabernacle. And he got visibly upset when he talked about this because he goes, that's not exactly how it's meant to be in the Bible. Money is not the root of all evil.
Right.
He says, we are meant to have wealth. We are meant to enjoy the bountiful riches that the Lord gives unto us. So we have to get over that because it's been ingrained in our community.
Right.
Because we see people who have riches and a lot of money, and we think, subconsciously or consciously, we think that it's ill-gotten or it's been attained in a bad way.
Now, one of the things about capitalism, though, is the inequality that it leads to. It leads to very few people having the most amount of money. We have the Bill Gateses and the Musks and the Amazon founder. They combined together own $500 billion, just the three of them. So capitalism is all about just getting the most out of it at
Yeah,
the expense of everything else.
yeah, but the thing with capitalism is that truly it does not have any prejudices. Prejudices.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody with a great idea and plan can attain great wealth.
Mm-hmm.
For example, Bezos, right? He started out
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, Steve Jobs and Apple, they started in their garage, you know, things like that. So if you have a great idea, you can attain great wealth. There is nothing that there's no market mechanisms that will stop you from attaining great wealth. While in other economic models, such as communism and stuff like that, there are barriers to attaining whatever wealth you have. So that's the beautiful thing about capitalism,
Mm-hmm.
um, that anybody can achieve what they want as long as they have a great plan and they put in the work. So, and that's one of the reasons why I'm really pushing the credit union is that same thought, that same theory that regardless of who you are, race, the black community, we can attain whatever we want as long as we have that great idea. The wealth and riches are there for us to have.
Now, speaking of wealth, and we're talking tonight about narrowing that wealth gap.
Mm-hmm.
Real estate's a pretty hot topic right now, and it seems to be going
Mm-hmm.
gangbusters. Tell us about how we can use real estate to our advantage and help to take part in some of that wealth that it creates.
Okay. Actually, real estate is probably the best way to attain wealth over any period of time. You
Mm,
could go and you could, you could probably speculate and buy some properties and flip, and it's a way to make money quickly or even a lot over a long period of time. But you have to get in the game, right?
mm-hmm.
68% of Canadians own homes,
Mm,
right? However, in high income neighborhoods, 74% of them are white.
mm,
And in low income housing, which is mainly rentals, apartment buildings and such,
right,
69% of them are black and brown. We do not own a lot of homes,
right.
right? So therefore, when you think about it, the money that you spend in rent,
Mm-hmm.
that's going nowhere. That's gone. You put that money down, you pay your rent, and you get no return from that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
However, the money you pay for your mortgage, you get a return because one, not all that money is to interest. A good portion of it goes to equity. That's
Right.
literally you're putting money in your pocket, like putting money in a savings account, right? And then later on down the road, you have that equity has built up.
How can they
But people
take
don't.
part
So
and increase their home ownership?
get in the game. Um, if you could afford to pay, $2,000 or whatever the rent is going these days, you could find yourself in a home. And
Right.
don't be afraid to start small.
Mm,
Get into a condo. My brother-in-law, he started out. Him and his wife started out in a small little condo in Scarborough.
right.
Now they have this big fancy house out in Ajax. Right? So don't be afraid to start small. But the beautiful thing with home ownership is that when you push that key in the door, that's your door. I remember when I bought my first house, it felt so good when I pushed that key in that door and it was mine.
I
I
can
said, this is
imagine.
mine.
And you've
Yeah.
you've also
So
enjoyed the increase in appreciation over the years too, I imagine.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about some business people who are in business right now, but they may not have a business plan, which to
Ooh.
me is one of the critical factors in knowing
Mhm.
what you're in business to do. Tell me, what's the importance of having a business plan, and if in fact you do have one for the credit union as well, and how that's played into how you've decided to do things?
Okay. So I'll go with an old adverb. No one plans to fail. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that they fail to plan.
Mm,
Right? A business plan is a GPS for your business. So imagine now trying to go somewhere without a GPS or a map. If I was to tell you, okay, your mission was to go jump in your car
Mm-hmm.
and drive down to New York City. It's an 8-10 hour drive. And you have the general idea where it is. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you could go to QEW and then okay, but then you cross the border. Where do I go? You could probably ask people and they say, oh yeah, take this highway, take that highway. But imagine having to drive from where you live down to New York City without a GPS or a map. That could be a very daunting task,
It can be very challenging.
very challenging, especially when there's a special bridge when you cross over from New Jersey into New York.
Mm-hmm.
My GPS always goes wonky over there around there, and a couple times because I made that drive and I got messed up around there. But anyways, with a GPS, you can navigate the various obstacles that come along your way because you have it tells you plotted out where you want to go
Mm-hmm.
and it will direct you. So even if there's a detour, there's a bridge that's out, it will tell you, okay, now you got to move from here to there and get around it. Without that GPS, you're lost. You
So
want
our
to get
business
there,
plan
but
is our GPS, and it's going to help us guide us
yeah,
along the way.
yeah.
Terrific.
Because
That
I've
is
seen
terrific.
many people fail because they didn't have a guide,
Mm,
right? And therefore, if something happens, you cannot assess what the situation is and what you need to do to get to where you need to go,
right.
right? Do you need to turn left or you need to turn right? Do you need to maybe take 2 steps back, turn left? You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Your business plan will, if you follow it, it will help you. And that's what we have with the Pan African Credit Union Initiative. We have our business plan in place,
Mm-hmm.
and it's plotted out how we're going to be profitable and when we're going to be profitable and how we get there. So we could
Right.
always follow it along and then find out, okay, maybe we got to pivot here, maybe we got to pivot there, but at least we have an idea in mind where we want to get to and how to get there.
That is terrific. Now, I do hear that right now it's a great time to be an entrepreneur. Do you believe that? And tell
Oh,
us why.
100%. It's a great time because there are so many opportunities out there.
Mm-hmm.
COVID has exposed a lot of things,
Right.
and what has exposed for me is has opened up my eyes and should have opened up a lot of other people's eyes as to where we're going for the future.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I remember 5 years ago, 10, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, if you said, oh yeah, we could go to a 4-day work week and work from home that one day, there was a lot of pushback on that.
Of course.
It was huge
Everyone
pushback,
thought you'll just blow off the time and do things
right?
for yourself and not
Now
really work.
we have been forced to work from home 24/7.
And it's actually turned out better for the employers because they can now give you 50% more work and you have to do it.
And it's turned out that it's been more profitable for companies because they realize, hey, I'm getting more productivity out of my staff, my
Mm-hmm.
employees, and I don't have all that cost, that brick and mortar cost,
Yeah.
right? And all the other ancillary cost that comes with having a building and an office and everything, right? The maintenance and all that. I don't have that.
Now, there are
So
some
it's like,
businesses that, due to COVID, is really struggling.
well,
And
yeah. So
sometimes
that's
even,
so that
they go to the point of maybe give up on their business. What can you tell those that are hanging on, that are still keeping their dream alive, but struggling in this type of environment that we're currently in?
so those that are struggling, what you have to do is, okay, you have to re-examine your business and reimagine your business in the new world.
Mm,
We just went through a watershed moment in history. So you have to reimagine your business now in the new world. What will make your business profitable? What will make it attractive to your customers, to your clients? So now, if you are, say, a restaurateur,
Right.
where before, you had to have at least 75% occupancy to break even. So now you got to say, okay, that's not going to happen for a while. It may never happen. So I have to be able to break even at 50%. So now what do I have to do to be profitable? So you have to look at other ways. So online. So now online services become huge.
What can
So
help
what you
someone to navigate that if they may not have that skill, that expertise to actually know what to do? Is it best just to talk to their accountant about it, or what should that person do who is feeling that pinch?
mm, so yeah, see, yeah, you could talk to an accountant about that. Financial advisor. If you have a very good relationship with your bank manager, accountant, you could account manager, you could talk to them. But what I would do is, if you're in business, you should have a mentor, somebody who's in the business, somebody who you should be able to throw ideas off of,
Right.
right? So I would talk to somebody who's who's in your industry and see, okay, how do we pivot from here? Where do we go from here? Right? Um, and you will get ideas, say, hey, you know, the industry is going this way, so we got to go. Or, it may turn out you may be an industry, whereas you're the next buggy whip,
Right.
so you say, okay, we've got to get out. We've got to divest and go somewhere into some other industry
So true.
because you don't want to be in the buggy whip industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's what I would do. I would more look to my peers in my industry, mentors, and then
Okay.
after that, maybe talk to accountants and finance managers. Sorry, financial advisors and bank
That
managers.
sounds like great advice. And this evening we're speaking with the chair of the Pan African Credit Union Initiative, Ivor Christopher. We'll be right back with more.
This is not your regular show. It is an interactive section powered by the masses.
Why you go to Nigeria? You wake up, you go come. Ask yourself now. I don't go to Nigeria.
Where we discuss issues that cut across politics, security, health, current affairs, governance, and so much more. Slices of humor to keep you entertained and thrilled. We are the GPKM Street Talk Team.
Welcome back to the Smart Investing Show with Alton Brooks on the GBKM network. Don't forget to download our app if you haven't yet done so on iOS or Android. You've got 24-hour programming, so feel free to check out all the programs that are available on our network. And do join us every Monday night from 9 p.m. to 9:30 for the Smart Investing Show. Tonight we're talking business, black in business, and narrowing the wealth gap. And we have joining us the chair of the Pan-African Credit Union Initiative, Mr. Ivor Christopher. And welcome back, Ivor.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we're talking about the credit union a little bit tonight. Tell us, what is the main goal of this credit union initiative?
Well, the main goal is to help the Black community grow, and specifically Black businesses, to help them grow and be competitive. Like a good example would be government contracts. That's some
Right.
place where Black businesses really don't.
We don't exist.
We don't exist. So, and one of the reasons why is there's a lack of access to resources for the Black businesses, i.e., we're underbanked.
Right.
So the credit union is there to help level the playing field. That's what we tend to, that's our goal, is to basically level the playing field
Right.
for our Black businesses. So if they come to us, say for example, you know, they got a contract to make a million N95 masks.
Hmm.
So they won that contract. So now they got to go buy the machinery and all that sort of stuff,
Right.
right? So they would have to go to the bank and get funding based on the contract.
Hmm.
So we would be there to help them out. Right now, you know, a lot of people or businesses are not in that because they don't have that relationship with the bank to
Right.
be able to take on such a contract. So they tend not to get involved because they won't be able to execute and properly deliver on that contract. So with a credit union, we'd be able to help businesses grow and say, okay, you know what? I have a good relationship with the credit union. If I win this contract, I have a good chance of being backed by the credit union in terms of being able to service that contract. So that's the kind of things
Hmm.
that we'd be looking um, to do and how we can help the Black
That is
community and Black
terrific. I mean, the
businesses.
more we can help, the more services that are there to help, is the more we can narrow that gap. Now,
Exactly.
let's talk about businesses again and folks that are running them. And we know that mental health is a huge thing right now, and especially everyone being at home, or you just can't do the things you've been able to do before. And it's affecting a lot of people in negative ways. What are some ways that you can tell businesses who are avenues that can help them to deal with this extra burden that they have to carry right now?
One of the things I learned a long time ago when it comes to business is pay yourself first.
Hmm.
So the next thing
Now, what exactly does
that
that mean? Just explain to the people that are watching.
so basically make sure for every dollar you earn, you got to, you know, put out a chunk for yourself because a lot of people they get really caught up in their business and buying and getting the stuff that they need for their business. They forget to pay themselves and enjoy the fruits of their labor,
Hmm.
right? So to go down further down that line, besides also paying yourself first, enjoy yourself,
Mm,
enjoy your wealth
right.
also. So don't be just burning, and then not take time to enjoy all the hard work that you've done. Groups
Right.
and so
You have
it's
to
something
remind
I've
yourself
learned.
to have a little fun.
Yeah, not only have a little fun, but you got to make sure you schedule your time for you,
Right.
right? You got to make sure you schedule that time to enjoy all that you have done, right? Especially the time now like COVID where you're working from home.
Hmm.
The the line between work and home has been blurred,
For sure.
right? Because it could be seen that you're always at work. You
So
can
true.
wake up at 9 and then 9 o'clock at night you're on another Zoom call. You know what I mean? So
You're
you've got
certainly
to
right
put
about
in
that.
you got to put in the parameters and boundaries. Uh, for me,
Excellent.
I know like when I unplug and come off the grid, I unplug and come off the grid.
Mm,
And that's it, right? So um, take that time to just downtime and de-stress because it will build up and it's a killer. Stress is a killer.
it
Stress
certainly is.
is
It
a
is
killer. So
definitely the silent
don't play
killer.
around with that.
I
Yeah.
totally agree. Now, you often hear the expression knowledge is power.
Hmm.
Tell us what that means to you, and tell us how the credit union.
Yeah. So financial literacy is one of the key mandates of the credit union initiative. That's one of the things we will be pushing a lot is
Right.
financial literacy in the community and also small businesses. That's the two things that we're going to be focused on. And the reason why we're going to be focusing on financial literacy is
Hmm.
people have to understand how money works
Okay.
and how to make money work for you. And that is something that in the Black community we don't understand very well. We don't utilize it. We've
Okay.
got to learn to make money work for us and understand how it works. So, so that just lends into knowledge is power. If you know how it works and you know how to make it work for you, you're good. You're good to go, and just execute on that plan. So that's one of the things the credit union initiative would like to do, is that we are going to have programs where we
To the community, but at the same time, you still have to make enough profits to cover your costs. So,
Mhm.
what else, or how else will you make sure that you keep that connection to the community while also maintaining enough profits to keep you in business?
Well, one of the key things is that we are going to be very open and welcoming to the Black community. Um, the overriding feeling that I get from a lot of the people I talk to is that they don't feel comfortable going into the bank and or dealing with the financial institution. They always feel like, you know, they have to jump through all these hoops in
Right.
order to get something that somebody else from another community can easily get. So right away, when you come into the credit union, the Pan African Credit Union, you are going to be met with that welcoming um, atmosphere, and you're going to be treated on the and judged on the merit of your portfolio.
Because, many times, as you know, we are looked at unfairly and differently once
Yes.
the pigment of our skin is shown to
Well,
certain financial institutions. So,
yeah, and the thing is, the reason why, I've been the controller for a large credit union,
mhm,
and the Black community is seen as a risk, as a financial risk,
right.
right? So therefore, being a bank, right, the main goal of the bank is to lend out the money and have it come back,
Hmm.
right? As, they will give you the money as long as they know it will come back. So if we are perceived as a risk, then that risk has to be mitigated.
Right.
So the mitigation comes out in the form of extra hoops that we have to jump through, because all they're doing is mitigating their risk because we are perceived as a risk.
Now,
So
why
what
are
I'm
they
saying,
allowed to actually perceive us as a risk without evidence, without actually being put to task on it?
well, you see, there's various things that the bank will do that, it's not commonly known,
Hmm.
right? For example, if you come from a certain area code, then you'll be treated differently.
Mm,
Your interest rate on your loan or your your line of credit would be maybe a little bit higher than somebody from a different post
right.
postal code.
But your plan is to level that playing field.
To level that
So
playing
whether I
field.
live at Jane and Finch, or whether I live in Oakville, or whether I live in some other areas,
Exactly.
I'll be treated just the same way.
Yeah.
That is terrific. Now, we touched upon it a little bit earlier about a great time to be an entrepreneur. But specifically for Black businesses, what are some things that they can seize on right now to seize the moment that's there for them? What opportunities are there for Black businesses?
Uh, right now, there's a lot of we need to get into the tech
Mm-hmm. Okay.
for the Black community. Areas where we are not as prevalent, right, is in the tech and the manufacturing.
Now, is that the tech as far as bringing that into your business, or just getting into more tech businesses themselves?
Both. Both. Um, a lot of what we do is a lot of service oriented. Barbershops, restaurants, right? We do, and trades,
Right.
which is all good. But we really need, as a community, we really need to diversify and move into other areas, other industry.
Mm-hmm.
As we've spoken before, and I always give the example of, you know, um, they always talking about how the money in the Black community stays only for a couple of minutes, while in other communities it's there for days,
Right.
right? And the reason that happens is because when you think about it, when you spend your money on a daily basis, you do not spend it in the Black community. For example, if I go to the corner store across the street,
Right.
and I have yet to go to a Black owned convenience store.
Well, I have to say, I believe it's in Oshawa, but there's finally one out there.
Okay, good. Maybe I'll go out to Oshawa.
It's
then.
either Ajax,
Also-
Oshawa, or Pickering, one of the three. But,
So, but
there
on
is
the way to
one
Oshawa-
out there now.
On the way to Oshawa or Pickering, I got to put gas in my car.
There you go.
In all my years, my 50 years in Canada,
Mhm.
I've only been to one black-owned gas station. That was in Brampton.
Mhm.
So now I got to go all the way to Brampton to put gas in my car to go to Oshawa. You know what I
hear
mean?
you. You might have
Or,
to
you
wait
know,
until you're visiting
black-
some relatives for that.
There you go. Or a black-owned pharmacy.
That's right. We can definitely
know?
use a lot of those.
So, and that's where you spend your money on a daily basis.
So
So
true.
if I was a black entrepreneur right now, I would look at these things. Where do I spend my money on a daily basis? Where can I, something that I have to buy all the time. You have a car, you always have to put gas in your car.
So true.
Pretty soon you have to plug it in your electric car, but for now we still got to put gas in our car. You still got to go to the grocery store to buy your food.
So before we close, tell us anything else you'd like to share about the credit union, how people can support, where they can contact you or the steering committee. I understand as well that you also have a call out for possible board members. So tell us quickly about that.
Okay, so we're going to be looking at the regulatory body within the next month, and we're looking to get our application okayed within 6 to 8 months after that, at which point we're going to incorporate and have a board of directors. So we're putting out the call out now for people who are interested in being on that board of directors.
And how can they reach you? How can they reach the Credit Union Initiative?
Okay, so we have a website. It's www.pacu.ca. You could go there, and there's information there.
And how about via email?
In terms of if you're interested in being a board member or applying for being a board member, you could send an email to info@pacu.ca. That's info@pacu.ca, and say that you are interested in being a board of director. We also have a newsletter where we send out information, every couple of months. So you go to the PACU website, there's a button, subscribe button, hit on that, fill out we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, we're on LinkedIn also, so you can follow us in all those various social media platforms.
All right, thank you very much. This evening's guest, Ivor Christopher from the Pan-African Credit Union Initiative. We'd like to thank Ivor for stopping by to chat with us this evening. This is a very important initiative, as anything community-based that has a financial institution is very empowering. And for those that are supporting it, continue to do so. And if you're new tonight to understanding and learning about it, certainly feel free to, as Ivor mentioned, to go to their website at www.pacu.ca to learn more about the work that they're doing. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll be back next Monday night for another great show. Have a terrific week.
GBKM TV, the station with a vision. GBKM TV, the station with a difference now. Slim Flex said so. Big up Ghana. The station with a difference now. Slim Flex said so. Big up Ghana. Up.
This is not your regular show. It is an interactive section powered by the masses.
You go for Nigeria, you wake up, you go come. Ask yourself now. I don't go Nigeria.
Where we